What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to our channel where we talk about all things trucking. If you've been keeping an eye on the tech and business world, you've probably heard the news about Convoy, the Seattle-based trucking startup issuing mass layoffs and shutting down operations. Convoy CEO Dan Lewis put it bluntly in a memo to employees. He said, "We hoped this day would never come." So what exactly happened? Why did Convoy, once backed by big names like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, suddenly shut its doors? Well, you're in for quite a story as we explore the rise and fall of Convoy in this video. However, if before we dive in, you wouldn't mind tossing a thumbs up on this video and subscribing to our channel, that would be greatly appreciated. Alright, let's get into it. Before we get into the what went wrong part of Convoy's story, let's take a deeper look at the journey that brought this tech-savvy trucking startup to where it stood just a short while ago. It's a story of ambition, innovation, and a whole lot of money. Convoy was not your typical startup. They set out to revolutionize the world of trucking. In the not-so-distant past, the trucking industry was characterized by old-school methods, with truckers and customers relying on phones and faxes to make connections. That's where Convoy came in. Convoy introduced a digital brokerage service, making it easier than ever for truckers and shippers to connect. They aimed to bring the trucking industry into the modern age, and their approach was more than just a little reminiscent of Uber, the ride-sharing giant that disrupted the taxi business. Now, what set Convoy apart was its valuation and funding history. Imagine this, they raised a jaw-dropping $260 million, and that was only 18 months before they closed their doors. This investment frenzy catapulted them to a valuation of $3.8 billion. It's hard to wrap your head around those numbers, but it's clear that many believed in their vision and potential. But here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Before its abrupt closure, Convoy was on the radar as a disruptive force in the logistics world. They weren't just a trucking company, they were on a mission to create a scalable technology platform that would bring in significant financial gains when market conditions improved. And it's important to note that Convoy was no stranger to challenges, especially in 2022. This was a tough year for the trucking sector and Convoy. Like other startups in the space, it had its share of struggles. They had to make some hard decisions, including multiple rounds of layoffs and cutting an office in Atlanta. Now, here's the interesting part. They secured $260 million in new capital from investors led by Bailey Gilford and Hercules Capital. JP Morgan extended a line of credit worth $150 million, and this was just 18 months ago. This was a clear sign that there was confidence in Convoy's potential, even in the face of these challenges. Convoy was led by CEO Dan Lewis, who had previously worked on new shopping experiences at Amazon and before that at Microsoft. He was at the helm of a company with a promising mission, but as the saying goes, even the mightiest can face the storm. Sometimes in business, even the most promising ventures can be brought to their knees by a perfect storm of challenges. The combination of an unprecedented freight market collapse and dramatic monetary tightening, as put by the CEO Dan Lewis, proved to be the knockout punch. The trucking industry is no stranger to ups and downs, but this time it was a different kind of turmoil that hit Convoy like a freight train. Let's break it down. After the peak of supply chain issues and demand spikes during the COVID-19 pandemic, which sent logistics prices through the roof, the trucking rates came back down to earth. This took away what was perceived to be a tailwind for Convoy's on-demand technology. Remember, before all this, Convoy had around 500 employees, but that number had already dwindled from a peak of about 1,500 people. But it wasn't just Convoy that was facing the heat. The whole industry was going through a rocky patch. Shippers found themselves in a paradise of plenty when it came to trucking capacity. They could cherry-pick the best freight rates from large asset-based carriers, leaving smaller trucking companies, like the ones Convoy targeted, at a disadvantage. It wasn't just the shift in demand that was making things tough. The world of digital brokerages, Convoy included, was facing a liquidity crunch. According to Craig Fuller, the CEO at Freightwaves, Convoy was a victim of an industry going through one of its deepest recessions in decades. Investor appetite shifted from risk to unit economics, leaving companies like Convoy in a tight spot. It seems like Convoy didn't build enough of a technological advantage. Other players in the market either had similar apps or were quick to follow suit and add new features. There was another issue at play as well. There seemed to be a bit of an identity crisis. Some questioned whether Convoy should position itself as more of a tech company or a logistics company. It's a fine line to tread, and it seems they leaned into tech even more as they tried to reduce expenses. In April 2022, Convoy announced their expectation to surpass $1 billion in annual revenue. However, things took a sharp turn from there. Layoffs began and the company started trimming headcount, even after raising a massive Series E funding round. This was followed by more layoffs in October 2022. Then, in February, they cut staff and closed their Atlanta office. It wasn't just Convoy feeling the market pressure. Other logistics startups like Flexport and Flex had to lay off staff too, as the market slowed down and venture capital dollars became scarce. Convoy's competitors, ranging from traditional brokerages like C.H. Robinson to newer players like Uber Freight, were all struggling in the shaky market. In August, rumors started circulating that Convoy was seeking a sale, but even in the midst of uncertainty, not many predicted that the collapse we witnessed this week was how the company would write the next, possibly the final, chapter in its history. In the midst of this tumultuous journey, Convoy CEO Dan Lewis penned a heartfelt memo that brought to light the internal struggles, the tough choices, and the pain associated with the company's closure. Lewis began by acknowledging the hard work of Convoy's employees in ensuring a smooth transition of in-transit shipments. He expressed his gratitude for the dedication and effort put forth during such a trying time, but then he dropped the bombshell. Convoy would be closing down its current core business operations, and most of the team members would have their last day at the company. He wrote, quote, "We hoped this day would never come." It's a sentiment that reflects the deep commitment of Convoy's team to their mission and the immense disappointment that their journey had to end this way. The CEO mentioned that over the past 4 months, they had explored all viable strategic options for the business. They had been on a quest to find a way forward, a lifeline to keep the company going in its then current form. But despite their best efforts and considerable investment, none of the operations materialized into a solution that could save the day. It's a reminder that in the business world, even during challenging times, doors may close, but windows of opportunity could still open. Perhaps one of the most poignant aspects of the memo is the acknowledgement of the impact on employees. Convoy had already seen significant workforce reductions in the lead up to this announcement, but the laid-off employees reportedly did not receive severance. It's a stark reminder of the real human toll when a company faces such a challenging decision. Lewis also touched upon the macroeconomic challenges Convoy had faced. Freight demand had taken a dip, revenue per truckload had decreased, and there was an oversupply of trucking companies. These market challenges were part of the broader storm Convoy found itself in. Analysts in the trucking industry like Avery Weiss from FTR Transportation Intelligence pointed out that it's a tough time for freight brokers due to the abundant trucking capacity. Shippers were finding attractive rates with large asset-based carriers, which was a hurdle for startups like Convoy that targeted smaller trucking companies. Tim DeNoyer, a vice president and senior analyst with ACT Research, highlighted another challenge: shippers moving freight loads to their privately owned fleets. This shift away from brokerage services further impacted companies like Convoy. At the same time, digital brokerages were facing a liquidity crunch. Craig Fuller, the CEO at Freightwaves, pointed out that Convoy was just one of the casualties in a rapidly changing industry that faced one of its deepest recessions in decades. So it was a complex situation. Convoy had a vision, the funding, and the technology, but it seems the turbulent waters of the industry were too challenging to navigate. Lewis emphasized the impact the industry needed. He believed that modernization was essential and that it's something many in the industry have been talking about. Shippers, carriers, and the market as a whole want a change. But as we've seen, even with the best intentions, making that change happen can be incredibly difficult. With all of this said, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What's next for the trucking industry and what could be the future of digital brokerages? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to toss a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with the world of trucking, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Hold on 1 second. Do you have a product, device, app, or technology that can help our North American truck drivers? Well, if you do, you can be a sponsor in one of our next videos. With over 90,000 truck drivers a part of our channel and over 500,000 views monthly, I'd like to bring your product to life. Email us at sponsorship@ettransport.ca.